If you're looking for the romance book of 2024, it could be one of these. Hi, welcome, come on in. My name is Aoife, and today I am bringing you my predictions for the top 20 in the romance category of the Goodreads Choice Awards. It's the time of year that all of those award ceremonies for books start to come out, and the Goodreads Choice Awards is one of the biggest ones. It is voted for by us, the readers, and it runs for about a month from around mid-November. So you get 2 weeks to pick your top pick from the top 20 in the category, and then you get another 2 weeks when that is whittled down to the top 10, and you have to pick your book of the year. Myself and my friend Neva from Reading with Neva are huge romance readers. We spend quite a lot of the year reading contemporary romances or dark romances or fanro. So we thought that we would put our heads together this year and have a look at what we've been reading across the last couple of months, what we've been hearing about over the last while, and we've put together our predictions for the top 20 list. We're also going to try and whittle it down to our top 10, and you may be seeing our thoughts about it in some upcoming videos. The way that I have put my thoughts together was rather calculated. I took a look at the awards from last year. I took a look at specific places that these authors would have come in or their books would have come in. I also took a look at some of the books that have been talked about a lot, be that on TikTok, be that on Instagram, be that on here in BookTube itself. I've also looked at some lists that have been coming out recently about the most anticipated romances or the romances that have been shelved the most often on Goodreads over the last 12 months. And I'm somewhat confident that most of these 20 are going to appear on the list. First off, let's give ourselves the open goal that it is. I fully believe that Emily Henry is going, I think it's 3 for 3 or 4 for 4. And Funny Story is 100% going to be the absolute outright winner of the romance category. Emily Henry is really having her moment in the sun at the moment. Funny Story was a fantastic book. There are so many people out there who are saying that this is her strongest book as of yet. And I have some pretty big expectations for her upcoming book in April next year. But I am very confident, in fact, I will place any kind of bet that you need me to, that Funny Story is going to walk away with the prize. But that is only one place decided. There are still 19 other slots that we need to fill in. And I don't think that this is going to be in a particular order of, I think this is exactly how the top 10 is going to go. I think this is exactly how the top 20 is going to go. These are just books that I would be reasonably to fairly confident are going to appear on the list. I am relatively confident that we're going to see a Catherine Center book on this list. Catherine Center appeared on the list last year and Hello Stranger came in 17th place. So I believe that the rom-commers might actually break the top 10 this year. I know that there wasn't quite a lot of discussion about it throughout the year because of the St. Martin's Press boycott, but I think it might have enough of a momentum now and enough people might be talking about it that it could just squeeze its way into maybe the bottom half of the top 10 or the earlier half of the top 20. Despite a relatively mixed reception, I'm pretty sure that Ashley Poston's A Novel Love Story is going to be in the top 10. Last year, The 7-Year Slip came in 9th place, and I actually think that that deserved a higher up score. I'll probably have swapped it around with Romantic Comedy, which I think was in 6th or 7th place. It definitely deserved a higher rating than what it actually had gotten. But I think that A Novel Love Story might fall somewhere into the same category. I think it might be around 9th or 10th place, but I'm pretty sure it'll be in the top 10 at any point. Last year, Christina Lauren came in 13th place with The True Love Experiment, and I am predicting a higher finish for them this year with The Paradise Problem. I absolutely loved this, and this goes right back to that vintage Christina Lauren that we all know and love. It is pretty reminiscent of The Unhoneymooners in that it has that fake dating trope, in that it has a kind of tropical setting. And I think that the story is just well enough on its own that it might go higher than 13th this time. I think we could see it again into the latter half of the top 10. I think maybe we're looking about an 8th place maybe. But this is definitely one that I think is going to appear on the list because Christina Lauren are such a popular writing duo that anytime they bring something new out, they are definitely going to be talked about and they're definitely going to be celebrated. I am predicting a relatively similar placement for Daydream by Hannah Grace that Wildfire, the previous book, got last year. Wildfire finished in 10th position, and I think that Daydream is probably going to be in around the same spot. It might fall 1 or 2, so I might say it could be in 12th position, but I'm definitely confident of it being somewhere in the middle of the pack. It is so talked about on Instagram and it's so talked about on Book Talk. I didn't particularly love Icebreaker. It was a book that I gave 2 stars to, but I know that it is so divisive, but the people who love it hard. And the people who really enjoyed Wildfire are also really going to enjoy the story in Daydream. It's got some fantastic mental health representation, which I feel is missing in quite a lot of books. So that is definitely something that I think needs to be shown more on the pages that we're reading. And I think that that is a good enough reason that it might go into the top 10, but only just about. Last year, Carly Fortune's Meet Me at the Lake just barely missed out on the top 10 when it came in 11th position. I'm thinking it's going to be something around the same vibe for this summer will be different. I know so many people who've loved it. I know that one of my friends absolutely adored this book, and I think it is on an upward trajectory from Meet Me at the Lake. But I also don't think that it's had as much of a hype as some of the other books that are on this list have. And I don't think it has been so talked about, and I don't think so many people have noticed it. And because Goodreads is such a popularity contest at the best of times, I just don't think that it has that fan potential and that momentum that's going to push it over the line this time. What I do think is going to be in the top 10 though is Miss Tessa Bailey and Fangirl Down. Tessa Bailey is such a Marmite author. You either love and worship her sometimes really cringy, dirty talk, or you shrivel your toes up and you can feel your body like closing in on yourself when you can hear it. I'm in the latter category, and I did read Fangirl Down. I read it for a vlog back in April around the weekend of the Masters tournament. And I think that this is going to break into the top 10 because it's Tessa Bailey. Tessa has a lot of really big fans that are going to keep the momentum going for this. And I know that sports romances are really having their moment. I don't necessarily think golf is one of the stories that has such a big following that it would translate well into a romance book, but somehow it worked. And I think that because it is a Tessa Bailey book and because it is a sports romance book, when you've got those two together, it's just going to work. Now, this one is my kind of a wildcard take because I don't necessarily know if it's going to make it into the list at all, but it's definitely one that I would love to see there. B.K. Barson didn't make the list at all last year with any of the books in the Inglewild series, but I think that Business Casual could appear on the list. If it does make it in, it will be somewhere from 18th to 20th place, if at all. But it's something that I have really loved. I've really enjoyed the coziness of this series. I have really enjoyed how connected they are. And I've also heard from B.K. Barson directly that each of these books corresponds with a specific season in the year. So obviously, set at Christmas time, Love Light Farms is your winter book, Into the Weeds is a spring book, Mixed Signals is kind of a summery read, and Business Casual, which ends out the series, is an autumnal read, which makes it the perfect one to read around this time of year specifically. And I think that it would be a really good time for people to explore it a little bit more if it were to appear in the top 20. I would put it in good authority for Abby Jimenez to finish with a podium finish. I think she will probably come in third once again, but Just for the Summer has definitely exploded this year. Abby Jimenez is for me another one of those kind of Marmite authors. I absolutely hated The Friend Zone and it is one of my all-time least favorite books, but I had a really good time with Part of Your World, and I'm pretty sure that Just for the Summer is part of that series. I've heard it has a couple of really tough trigger warnings. It has a lot of discussions about mental health, but I also think that the storyline behind it is interesting enough that it's going to grab people's attention. It's got that kind of social media world in that it is kind of set around a couple discovering each other on Reddit and meeting each other through that subreddit that they've joined. And I think that that kind of little tie-in is probably going to bring people over. But also the fact that it is just Abby Jimenez's writing, that will definitely take the momentum in. And I'm fairly confident in saying this is going to be in third. if Abby Jimenez is coming in third, if we're going to go again from last year in second place, is definitely going to be Not in Love by Ali Hazelwood. So many people have said that this is the best of her writing so far. I know that a lot of people have really enjoyed it. It's a little bit different to the kind of stories that she's been writing so far. And I don't mean in the way of Bride, I mean that it goes in a different direction to her other contemporary novels anyway. Is it enough that it's going to be a change enough for me to want to read it? I'm not entirely certain, but I still do stand firm that Ali Hazelwood has got enough of a followership and has definitely got enough notoriety that this book is a fairly decent shoe-in for second place. The Goodreads Choice Awards can be quite heteronormative, they can be quite white, but I think that a couple of LGBT stories definitely need to be celebrated by these awards, and one that I definitely think deserves its flowers is Here We Go Again by Alison Cochrane. It has got a fantastic story to it, of course, but it also has a couple of deeper themes that a lot of readers are going to associate with. It has got a cancer diagnosis, it has got the death of a parent or a loved one, it has got that bereavement, but it also has a road trip vibe to it, which I know a lot of people are going to really enjoy reading. I am pretty confident that this is going to end up in the top 10 of this list. I'm not entirely sure of the placement, but I would be pretty certain that this will fall in the top 10 of the list. Another repeat author who I'm pretty certain will appear here again is Sarah Adams. And I know that football romances are definitely having their moment, especially with the resurgence of the football season in the US. It's coming up to Thanksgiving right now, so a lot of people are going to be reaching for American football romances anyway. I think that The Rule Sheet, which came out this year, is somewhat loosely connected to a series that she has had already. Sarah came in 14th place on the list last year with Practice Makes Perfect, which wasn't necessarily a football romance, it was more of a celebrity and bodyguard situation. So I think that this might actually go a little bit higher than the 14th. It might go up into like an 11th or 12th place, maybe. But I would be pretty confident that she's going to appear on the list again. I am also pretty confident that A Love Song for Ricky Wilde will appear on this list. I think it might be somewhere in the bottom half of the top 20 though. I'm not entirely sure that it has the momentum that people would want. And I know that Tia Williams has been a super beloved romance writer before. I know that so many people have loved 7 Days in June, and I know that so many people have loved The Perfect Find. I haven't necessarily heard a lot of people talking about A Love Song for Ricky Wilde, but the people who've read it and who've loved it love it loud. So I know that it has got that little fandom out there. It's just that have they got the momentum and have they got the numbers that are going to push it over the line into the top 10? I don't think so. But has it got the numbers that it might go from 15th to 20th place? It's possible. The Long Game by Elena Armas came in 20th place last year, so it just barely made the cut. And to be honest, I think that The Fiancé Dilemma is going to be around the same area. It might be 19th, but it might be 20th, but it's definitely not going to set the world ablaze. It will appear on the list because Elena Armas has got a couple of fans, but her writing can also be very divisive. I know that a lot of people didn't necessarily love The Spanish Love Deception, and her books have been kind of mixed reviews since then. So I'm not entirely sure how it's going to be received, but if she does appear on the list, it's probably going to be somewhere towards the bottom. I fairly believe that Kennedy Ryan could make it onto the list. She has got a phenomenal writing style and she really does grip you in with the stories that she is telling. I know, for example, that Before There Was Us, which is the book that preceded This Could Be Us, that dealt a lot with miscarriages and with a kind of difficult pregnancy. So I'm pretty sure that if these topics appear in her books again, it's going to draw in a lot of readers who will have been in that position and who can empathize with it. And her writing is strong enough that it could push her over the line anyway. I think we're looking at it from a 10th to 15th perspective. I'm not sure it's going to break into the top 10, but it will definitely be somewhere in the list. Another author who I think might appear, having not made an appearance last year, is Elle Kennedy. I know that she's had a couple of books come out in 2024, but I'm going to go for the Dixon Rule with this one. It is the second in a series. The first book in the series either came out in late 2023 or very, very early in 2024. So there is the opportunity for people to have already read it and to get lost in that world. And I know that Elle Kennedy has got quite a lot of big time fans. She writes a lot of college dramas, she writes a lot of sports romances, and particularly marrying those two tropes together, which is something that draws in a really big crowd. So if she does appear on this list, I think that, like Kennedy Ryan, she could be looking at a 10th to 15th finish. How to End a Love Story by Yulin Kwan is one that I think is going to be in the top 10. I have seen it on so many lists throughout the year, and I have seen so many people talking about it that I'm kind of surprised that I haven't read it by now. It has got a lot of deeper things that are connected with this book. It is quite light and fluffy in that the female main character works in LA as a scriptwriter, but the guy that she is working opposite accidentally killed her sister with his car a couple of years back. So it's kind of got that angst that a lot of people will be searching for in a book, but it also will have quite a lot of trigger warnings for death, for car accidents, for bereavement. So I'm kind of thinking that if it does get into the top 10, it will probably be somewhere around 7th or 8th. I'm pretty sure that there will also be a couple of dark romances on here, and one that I am certain will appear in some form is Leather and Lark by Bryn Weaver. I think this is going to be either in the latter half of the top 10 or the earlier half of the top 20. So somewhere from a 5th place to a 15th place. I know that so many people have loved Butcher and Blackbird. It is just not my kind of book. It's not my kind of reading. So this is a book that I have absolutely no idea what it is about. And it's not one that I could see myself reaching for. But I know that the people who love dark romance have really enjoyed this book. So this is one that I think is definitely going to appear on the list somewhere. The Right Move by Liz Tomford came in 9th position last year. So going from that, I think that Play Along will also go around that kind of area. I know that a lot of people have been really enjoying this series, particularly because it is a Why Choose series, because the books are quite chunky and there's a lot that you can take out of them. They've got a sports romance aspect to them. They've got the kind of world that you can escape into. And I know that there's a lot of people out there who've really enjoyed it, but I don't think that there's enough people out there who've enjoyed it to raise the ranking anything more from last year. Something else that I think is going to appear at some stage is a cowboy romance. They are also really having a moment with the Chestnut Springs series, for example. But I actually think that the one that's going to go on this list is Swift and Saddle by Lila Sage. So many people have loved this series, and I've truly seen it everywhere. I have applied for every single arc for every single book on NetGalley, and I have been turned down every single time, which I'm a little bit salty about because I really wanted to explore this series and figure out that it was for me. So I think I'm going to have to go in through my local library or through Libby and figure out if a cowboy romance is something that I'm into. But I know that so many people have loved it that I definitely see this one in the top 20. Those are the books that I think will be some way in the top 20 in the Goodreads Choice Awards in the romance category this year. Do you agree with any of the choices that I have made? Or is there a glaring omission that you think I am missing out on? If you'd love to leave me a comment but you can't think of anything you'd like to say, then just leave me the trophy emoji so that we can crown the winner at the end of the year. Don't forget to like and subscribe because I have new videos up every week. Now, get on out of here.